You can now find ancient pottery in Minecraft, and it made me want to find some in real life, so I tried it myself, but kept finding useless junk. I spent days looking for some kind of evidence of an ancient civilization, but it turns out it's a lot easier to do in Minecraft. I just thought if I looked hard enough, maybe I would be able to find something. But even after going to multiple biomes, there was still no luck. Why can't real life be more like Minecraft? But then I realized, maybe it can. Let's make a Minecraft pot, an ancient decorated pot. I'll start by using a slab roller. This machine is really good at flattening clay, which is not going to work unless we have some balls of clay. I also want to flatten the balls a little before putting them through. I'm putting the clay between canvas because I don't want it to stick to the MDF boards. These MDF boards are what's going to determine the thickness of the clay. Then I'll use the machine to squeeze the sandwich between two metal rollers. I like to do all my work on a smooth wooden slab. Just like the canvas, the clay doesn't stick on it. Now I'm going to get some paper and make a stencil. Then I'll cut it out. This stencil is in the shape of Minecraft's pottery sherd. Now I'm using a needle to score the stencil into the clay. I'll use the same needle to cut it out. I know I'm making pottery sherds, but in order to really bring Minecraft archaeology to life, we're gonna need some pots too. Which means we're gonna need a lot more clay. And, well, everything. I've made more slabs, but we're gonna need more stencils too. Just like the stencils for the pottery sherds, I'm using a needle to trace them. But because this shape is a lot more simple, I'm using a knife this time to cut them out. Careful, this knife is sharp. Building these Minecraft pots requires a lot of parts, and it's going to be the largest pot I've made yet. But before I build them, I'm going to have to wait for these slabs to dry overnight. Now that everything's dry, we can put them together. I'll join the parts by scoring them with a serrated edge. Then I'll re-wet them with some slip. After that, I'll press them together. I'll also add some clay for extra reinforcement. It's a good thing we let these slabs dry, because they probably would have bent from pushing on them so much. Now I'm cutting a hole in the top part for where the neck will be placed. Then it can slide in. Now we can put the final slab on the body. But it still looks rough, so I'm going to scratch up all the seams and then brush some slip. Then I can take a metal rib and smooth it out. Next, I'll take the rest of the parts and start building the neck and lip. After making sure all the seams are at sharp right angles, I'll make a hole for the opening, which is actually kind of like carving a pumpkin. Now that we've made a proper hole, we can refine it and attach the neck to the body. The pot's looking pretty darn accurate so far, but it's still missing its decoration. Before we add that, they have to be fired in the kiln. This first firing is called a bisque, which hardens the clay just enough so that we can apply glaze. Now that everything's fired, we can move to the end, the last part in this build. Before we start, the pot needs a grid pattern. This will be a guide for the design. Now I'm marking the areas that need to be painted. Then, we can apply wax. We're basically building up layers, but once we put the wax on, there's no going back. The wax soaks and sticks into the pores of the clay, making those areas hydrophobic, so they can't accept any water. It's a popular technique for masking an area where you don't want glaze, and it's great because it burns off in the kiln later. Now that the wax is finished, we can move to underglaze. First I'm applying yellow for the borders, then dark brown for the symbols. I could just use underglaze, but I want these to stand out more, so I'm going to put a clear glaze on top. This will make the design pop more after it's fired. Now I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't leave any specks of glaze on the wax. And it looks pretty good. So now we can move on to its final firing and the final shots. First, let's build these pots in the proper Minecraft fashion, using a crafting table. The pots turned out great. The finish that was achieved from firing at over 2000 degrees Fahrenheit really feels like an ancient pot. And now archaeology can be done just like Minecraft. I really hope you enjoyed the process of bringing Minecraft archaeology to life. It was a long journey to get to this point, but we're not stopping here. There's definitely more on the way. Until then, I'll see you later.